Welcome to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. This is a podcast for faithful women who want healing in their relationships, guidance from God, and internal peace. Each week, you'll hear mental health concepts taught through a spiritual lens from me, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, to help you start thinking in a higher and holier way. All right, I'm so excited to welcome a special guest this week. We have, and I forgot to ask how to say your last name. Is it Kerrie Nygard? Did I say that?
You got it right.
Okay.
Yep. You did good.
Awesome. I thought it was like kind of how it's spelled, but welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, your family, and maybe a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I live in Central Washington and I'm married and I have 6 kids and they range from 19 down to 6 years old. And I was born and raised in Washington State and I've moved around, but we came back to Washington State and just really enjoy being here. The last several years, I've had a business that I operate online, a life coaching business. It's called Brain Management 101. And in that, I teach people 8 basic things they need to understand about their brain so that they're not always feeling like their brain's jerking them around, but that they're in the forefront and making the decisions. The last several years, the main thing I've been doing in my business is working with women, faith-based women, learning how to overcome the food and body struggle. And so that's where my focus has been as of late. But when I'm not doing that, you will find me up in the mountains because that is I love to hike, I love to ski, and all things mountains is what calls my name. So, yep.
Very cool. What part of
Yeah.
Washington are you from?
So it's right in the middle. So I in like Wenatchee.
Okay.
So right in the Columbia Basin. Like I can look out my window and I see the Columbia River and the
Nice.
Cascades. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm originally from Oregon, so
Oh, are
Washington is
you?
right close
Oh,
there. Yes.
great.
Yeah. And I live in Utah now, but we love to go to the mountains too, so we have that in common. That's awesome.
Well, that's one of the best things about Utah is the mountains. So
Right, exactly. Exactly. Well, awesome. So today we're talking about, I'm doing a whole month on healing, and I wanted to do different aspects of healing. And one of the things that I thought that was really cool that you talk about is healing your relationship with your body.
Mm.
And I feel like, we'll probably get into this, but just lots of reasons why women might not have a good relationship with their body. So what do you think are the main struggles that women feel when they don't have this good image about their body or the way they see themselves? What do you think the struggles are?
well, I'm gonna just be blunt. I feel like society has set a booby trap for women to struggle with their
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah.
And so women think it's them. They think that I'm the problem. I can't figure this out. But essentially, it's kind of a strong word, but women have been groomed into struggling with their bodies.
Yeah.
And the biggest culprit is this diet mentality or diet culture that's woven all through in our society, so much so that we can't even really see it.
Hmm.
And the basis of this idea is that women are valued for their level of perceived beauty.
Mm.
And the way women increase their level of acceptability is by increasing their level of beauty. And we have this beauty standard, which is made up and which
Yeah.
changes from decade, like generation to generation. In fact, I've worked with thousands of women, and if I ask them what their ideal body is, it will mirror the generation through which they went to high school and college in.
Interesting.
It's just fascinating. Yeah. Like in the
Wow.
90s, when I was in high school, it was all about like your hips sticking out and being very gaunt. And they called it the heroin look because it looked like you were on drugs. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
whereas like kids that, graduated maybe in the last 10 years, it was more about making their back ends as big as possible and all that.
Mhm.
Like it just has changed.
Yeah.
And to realize that it's just a made up idea, that this beauty standard
Right.
is a made up idea. And so, how do we get closer to this ideal beauty standard so we can feel more valuable and confident as a person and as a woman? Is to diet. So now food is not the thing that nourishes us. Food is the thing that adds to our goodness or badness, adds
Oh,
to our value. And so now they have a struggle with food. And then if their body doesn't comply by moving towards the outward appearance, looking closer to whatever this beauty standard is, now their body is now something that they battle with.
yeah.
Their body's not cooperating. Their body's keeping them from feeling confident and happy with who they are.
Yeah.
So this whole idea is just a big made up thing, but it's been set up, taught to us from when we were even little, before we even have the mental brain capacity to think anything different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so there's kind of this waking up period. I feel like as women are able to identify that this has happened, not in an angry, resentful way, but like a,
Yeah.
hey, this isn't even true. This is just a made up thing that's
Yeah.
been presented to me in society. I was never the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the biggest thing is this struggle, feeling like they're in a battle or in conflict with their bodies,
Yeah.
which as a Latter-day Saint woman, this is completely contrary to what we're taught in the doctrine.
So true.
We're taught that before this life, we chose Christ, and part of that was choosing to come here to earth and to receive a body. And
Mm-hmm.
so, a big part of my mission is to help women to accept their bodies now, just
Yeah.
like we did before. Yeah.
So is this, I can just imagine this, like this is a great tool that Satan has, right? Like let's just change it every decade, right? Let's just change
Oh, yeah.
what we're striving after, right? And
Mm,
have this impossible kind of standard that we have to meet and that you'll never be able to meet the standard. And here is a way that's really kind of a never-ending battle for you to possibly meet this standard, but it
yeah.
really kind of messes with you when you go down that path.
Yeah, it doesn't bring you peace. I mean, my story is similar to, I think, a lot of women's stories. A theme that I've noticed as I've worked with so many women over the years
Yeah.
is that some of them started to struggle with their body, maybe later in life, like after having babies and stuff. But most of them, it was when they are either going through puberty or just starting puberty. It's
Yeah.
really common for a lot of them to start struggling with their body then. And I don't think it's a coincidence that just at the time when a girl is developing into her femininity,
Hmm.
that's the very time in which she begins to think there's something wrong with her because of her
Yeah.
body. I
Yeah.
think it's a great ploy of Satan. If you
Right?
can get like if you
Yeah.
study war tactics, the best thing is to get them to destroy themselves from the inside out, right? And
Right.
so if you can introduce this indoctrination of this idea that your value is based upon your level of perceived beauty, based on this
Hmm.
made up standard that changes,
Hmm. Right? Yeah. You'll
then
never achieve. Yeah.
yeah, then there's this inward battle of I'm not enough, and the reason I'm not enough is because my body isn't the way it's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
now that there's this rejection and this women rejecting their bodies.
Yeah.
And not only that, but while they're trying to mentally and physically make changes, they're distracted from more wonderful pursuits,
Hmm.
and their worth becomes completely distorted in
Yeah.
the process. And so I remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old thinking there's something wrong with my body. I have this belly. In fact, people are pointing it out. Even
Yeah.
well-meaning family members are making
Yeah.
comments on
Yeah.
my body parts, right?
Yeah.
And I think I dieted my first time when I was around 12 or 13. But it was restrictive, right? Because you'd feel desperate to make a change because of this internal rejection going on. You're like, I know I need to make a big change. So there's this desperate thing where you're willing to go to great lengths, right? Restrictive things.
Hmm.
But that's not sustainable. So then you start in this diet cycle where you're going up and down in your weight.
Yeah.
Um, never feel you're either on or off, right?
Yeah.
This idea of being on the bandwagon or off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And this continued even through my young adult years, through my childbearing. I'd get pregnant, I'd gain a lot of weight, not only pregnancy weight, but just this release of restriction.
Yeah.
And then I'd have the baby, and then I'd restrict calorie counting, crazy working out, like just overboard. Then I get pregnant again, right? And
Yeah.
then after my fifth baby, I'd lost the baby weight again. And I was supposed to be happy, but I was left with so much mental chatter in my head around food, which is one of the main symptoms of being in diet mentality. You've triggered these survival responses in your brain, and your brain views food as being scarce. Your kitchen could be full of food, but your brain perceives it as being scarce from all these years of doing these restrictive diets.
Yeah.
And so a lot of women come to me and say, I don't even care if I lose weight. I don't care anymore. I just need peace in my mind. I
Yeah.
just need peace.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was at that point, and I remember, and I was a certified personal trainer. I still am. And I had my certification in exercise nutrition and all these things, but I was still struggling because
Mm.
I had done these hardcore things over the years. They call them boot camps and 6 week
Yeah.
transformations. And I'm not saying that those things are completely don't have a place, but they're not helpful given the landscape of where we're already sitting as women.
Right. Absolutely.
It just exacerbates it. And so at that point, I thought, I have 5 kids. I have other things I want to think about, but I can't stop thinking about food. And I was just so frustrated. And I had decided I was going to stop doing it. And I thought I'm probably going to gain weight, but that doesn't matter anymore because I just need to make room for more important things in my life. And so I went to God in prayer. And I remember thinking that he was going to be like, well done, Kerrie. Like you've evolved past this, like your vanity.
You've
And now
arrived.
yes. And it was just this tearful prayer. And I just laid it all out there of the frustration that I felt and the lack of peace in my mind that I was experiencing. And these words came to my mind, and it was, keep going, Kerrie. And I was like, what? Like, did you just, what? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
confused. Like, no, you were supposed to like send feelings of like affirmation and peace.
Yeah.
And then it came again, keep going, Kerrie. And I remember being confused, thinking, okay, well, I don't know how this is supposed to look, but I'm supposed to keep going, but certainly it couldn't
Yeah.
be. And then from that moment on, in the days and weeks and months that followed, different mentors, different information, different inspiration came, so that over the course of a few years, um, I essentially was able to repair that relationship with my body and
Mm.
food and come to a place of not a not I still had health goals. I just learned how to do it in a sane way.
Yeah.
And the biggest piece is going to that, and we'll talk about it here in a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
but the biggest deliverance was realizing that my body was not me.
Mm. Not your identity.
Well, even just I had this experience looking in the mirror. I don't know, within a month or two of that prayer. And usually when I would look in the mirror, like before or after getting dressed or getting in the shower or something, I would pick my body apart, right? We'd
Mm.
assess, I would suck in, I'd do this, I'd do
Yeah.
that, I'd pinch, I'd pull, right? And I would just,
Yeah.
you know, um, that was just a ritual that I would do. But this particular day, I didn't. And I was just kind of like resting my eyes and just kind of looking deep into my eyes as I was looking into the mirror. And I had this really spiritual epiphany, and it was, that's your body, that's not you that you're seeing. And I was like, oh. And then I looked deep into my eyes and I thought, oh, but I'm in here.
Mm.
And it was just this realization. I mean, we're taught not just within our church, but within all our churches,
Yeah.
we're taught that at the end of our life, our body stays here, and then we leave our bodies and we go back to our creator, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Therefore, I'm not my body, but the way I'd been treating my body, being steeped in diet mentality, I didn't even consider that she wasn't me.
Yeah.
And so just realizing, wait, she loves me and she's been sacrificing for me. Not in this, I appreciate my body, but she'd be so much better if, but
Yeah.
she is she's amazing and she's my most important partner in this life. And just realizing that there's no breath I've taken, there's no experience, whether it was painful or blissful or any experience, any relationship I've had in this life, I've experienced it, and so has my body.
Mm.
And so no longer was I in opposition and frustrated with my body because it wouldn't comply, but it was just this harmonious feeling of, oh, you've been here all along. I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't see you. I
Yeah.
didn't see you. And from then on, the way I dressed her, I wouldn't weigh myself to see if I could wear a tailored dress to church that day. It
Yeah.
it didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like I dressed her in any way that felt good. And I
Yeah.
fed her because I loved her, not because
Yeah.
I wanted to change her. It wasn't, what can I eat to get away with? What can I get
Hmm.
away with eating? It was, what can I eat that will allow her to feel good?
Yeah.
And so this whole dynamic changed of accepting her as a gift, um, because God tells us that our body's a gift.
Yeah.
But do I really believe it?
I wanted to interrupt this episode to tell you about a new line of products I have for your mental health. These would be great Mother's Day gifts, missionary gifts, ministering gifts, or just a treat yourself gift. First, I created a new line called the Think Celestial line. I created a cute, dainty 18 karat gold adjustable bracelet that says Think Celestial. This is to help you remember to practice your mental health skills that will actually help you think celestial. But not only is it a reminder, the bracelet also comes with a link to more mental health resources to help you think celestial. Another product I just released is my Think Celestial mini puzzle. Puzzling is a great mindfulness activity, and this puzzle also comes with those same mental health resources. And finally, I created a small pocket-sized stress less kit with curated items that help you turn back on your prefrontal cortex part of your brain and feel calm, focused, regulated, and process emotions. These are great for church bags, school bags, or even your purse. After I sold these at Pinner's Conference, I had a mom reach out to me and say that she got it approved for her son to use at school on his 504 plan. Stock up now on these while you're remembering Mother's Day, that missionary farewell you need to go to, or your ministering sister you haven't checked on in a while. Check out the link in my show notes that takes you to the store where you can check them all out. All right, back to the episode. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think so many women can relate with all those
Yeah.
different moments, right? And
Yeah.
that we felt those different times, that frustration, the confusion, the anxiety, the worry, the stress,
Yeah.
all of that. So, let's talk about some things that women can start to do to
Yeah.
heal that relationship.
Yeah.
So, what's one way that women can say, I identify with this, I want to heal that relationship with my
Mhm.
body and see her, the way God sees our bodies, right? And
Yeah.
that what can we do?
So, well, the first thing kind of emulates what I just talked about is to reconnect with the purpose of your body.
Mm,
Because if you don't reestablish what reality is, then you're going to believe what's being fed to you continuously in the world and in our society.
mhm,
And so we have to reestablish my body is a gift from God. Do I
mm,
believe that? And can I feel that? Like, do I feel that? Um, and in some ways that I do this with my body is like I kind of talk to her, not in a weird way, but like I check in, like, how are we doing? How did that feel? Like that was hard. Like I check in, and a
the
lot of people talk about
awareness.
checking in with yourself, but like
Yeah.
physically, like how is my body doing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? How do we
Hmm.
feel? Just like you would with any relationship. I teach this as a concept called divine body partnership. Seeing your body as your partner as you sojourn throughout life on this earth.
Mm.
And when you exercise, um, is my body enjoying this? Not even if it's strenuous exercise. Sometimes sometimes I can feel in my body, oh, this is terrible. Let's bring it down, Kerrie. Or it's this is great.
Yeah.
And even now, as I'm almost 44, going through perimenopause, and that's a whole nother thing,
Yeah.
checking in with my body and am I supporting her in what's going on? So number one is coming back to realizing and reconnecting with the purpose of your body and that like what's the purpose of my body here? It
Yeah.
isn't to be an ornament. And do
Yeah.
I only love my body when I love the way she looks? Because I mean, that's if that's the case, that's like the most toxic. I mean, that's the very
Relationship,
like yeah.
right?
If you think of any toxic
Yeah.
relationship, that's a toxic relationship.
Right. So
Yeah.
true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think first and foremost, just reaffirming and coming to a place where not only do you know, but you can feel of the purpose of your body. I think
Yeah.
that's the first step. Yeah.
And I think awareness is such a key step in change. I think sometimes people miss that step because we can't change what we aren't aware of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just becoming aware of how is this relationship? Is this a relationship that I would condone my children being in, right? Is this
Yeah.
something that I would promote for somebody else to be in a relationship like this?
Yeah.
And really, really identifying that. I think that's huge.
Yeah. And also realizing when you do that, you become this soft place for yourself.
Mm,
There's a lot of dis-ease in people's minds because of just the way that they're constantly patterned ways of thinking and talking to themselves. It's not their mind's not a kind place to be.
Yeah.
So this shows up in lots of anxiousness and not being able to sit still. But
Hmm.
when you realize who your body is and that really your identity of being a child of God, right? And that your body is a gift, the way you talk to yourself begins to change. And then you become a safe place for yourself. You're a soft place to fall. I like
Hmm.
my own company.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't think of a better, and I didn't used to, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't think of it's one of the best gifts I think you can give yourself. Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. All right. What's tip number two to healing our
Um,
relationships with our
well,
bodies?
we need to eliminate influences that are telling us otherwise.
Mm.
So if, and I can't tell you, follow this person, don't follow this person, because you have to see how does it affect me. But if you know your identity, then someone else can't tell you something different because you know it,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
someone said, I hate your purple hair, Kerrie, I would just laugh because my hair's not purple, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But so if I know who I am and I know of my value and I know that I have a body and it's a gift from God and I know that and I can feel it and I've had experiences that reaffirm that, then other people can anywhere in society online can tell me something different, but it doesn't affect me because I know the truth, right?
Mm.
And I have felt it and I've experienced it. So the second tip would be to eliminate any content that's telling you something different.
Mm.
So some it could be any content
Yeah.
creator out there. There's so many. In a period of like 5 minutes, you can scroll on social media and get such opposing views.
Hmm.
And it's like, I don't even know what to think anymore.
Hmm.
Well, you decide what to think. Let that be your anchor. And if you're listening to things that are in opposition to that, unfollow.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
If you're constantly following content creators that do a body shot before they
Yeah.
show you everything they eat,
Yeah.
they're constantly doing back end shots of their rear end. Those
Yeah.
are, I don't want to say that that's a definite bad, don't follow,
Yeah.
but those are signs that possibly they're going to be creating content that is going to objectify their body and yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your body's not an ornament,
Yeah.
right? It's a gift that allows you to be here on earth. And so, yeah.
What do you say? I'm thinking about it. Like, yeah, social media, you can hit unfollow, but I think a lot of it happens around us all the time
Yeah.
too, right? Like, what
Yeah.
do you do about the people that are
Yeah.
saying those things to you constantly?
Yeah.
Like, I always get worried about like my kids hearing that all the time, just
Yeah.
even from grandparents, they're hearing this all the time. And so what are we
Well,
doing about those messages and how are we counteracting those?
yeah. Well, we can't. So why is diet mentality still alive? Because the previous generation taught it to us and the generation before them, like, I don't want to villainize the generation that raised
Yeah.
us because
Yeah.
there's great things there and there's also some things that we want to do differently, right? But for our children, I think first and foremost, others may make comments on their body, but how about you don't make comments about your body that would be
Mhm.
unkind? And don't ever make comments about your children's body parts.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
don't say comments like, "Oh, look at that, your belly's kind of sticking out there," or talk
Yeah.
about instead of words of thinness and thickness, how about we have words of strength and wellness and how does that feel? Not how does that look, but how does that feel?
Yeah.
It starts with us, right? That modeled
Hmm.
behavior.
Hmm.
And we can have conversations with other family members. I've had a time where I've said, "Hey, don't ever make comments about my daughter's body." But
Mm.
like
Hmm.
there's been a time or two where I've after the fact said, "Hey, could in the future, just don't ever make comments about their
Yeah.
body."
Yeah. Yeah.
In a kind way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not in a way because I think, "Oh, you're so bad for doing that," but
Yeah.
that's just normalized in their brain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's normal to them. And so and when you say that, they might be offended, even if you say it tactfully and kindly, but they're going to think about it and think, why wouldn't they want me to say things about their body?
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of weird too when you think about it. Like,
Yeah.
why would we make comments about, like, how often do you hear someone make comments about, like, little girls as they grow up? They'll just make some comments that are like, why would you do that?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
some things are great, like, look at you getting so tall and you're just growing up and
Yeah.
you're like, those are fine. But why would you ever say, oh, look at your little pooch? Like, what a
Yeah.
weird thing to say.
Yeah. Yes.
So weird. Um,
Yes.
but I experienced it growing up, and
Yeah.
most of my women share that work with me share similar experiences as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, you
absolutely.
sure you want to eat that? Haven't you
Yeah.
noticed your back end? It's such a
Yes.
weird thing to say when you
Yeah.
step back and look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting too. They, just the dialogue that they hear too, like that the other person talking, like every conversation's about their body and what it looks like, and constantly,
Yeah.
about what they're eating, what they're not doing, and
Yeah.
those environments can be hard to be around too.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you realize and have those experiences, and they do become, for me and for the women that I work with, they become these spiritual experiences of realizing how wrong they were in their thinking for so long when they come back to this realization of my body's a gift and really feeling it. I know that can sound cliche, my body's a gift, but cliches are there for a reason because they're true, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when you really experience that, then you can look at people who are still in the struggle and you can look at it with compassion
Mm,
and with love of, oh, they're still stuck there. They're still believing things that aren't true, just made
yeah,
up things in society. And
yeah.
so you can see it with compassion, and depending on the relationship, you may feel inclined to say kind things or just to be quiet. It just
Yeah,
depends on the relationship.
yeah.
But to see it not in frustration, but with compassion of, oh, I understand where they're at. And that's a
Hmm.
hard place to be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay. And tip number three. What's the
Yeah. And then the third thing, so the first one was to reconnect with the purpose of your body. Second was to eliminate negative influences. And then the third one is to separate your identity from your body, which we've already talked
Mm,
about.
yeah.
To realize that there is nothing that you've experienced in this life that your body hasn't also experienced, and that you're going through life together. Really,
Hmm.
because there's no time that you've ever been apart in this life.
Yeah.
And no other relationship in this life would have been possible without your body.
Yeah.
And so it's that first relationship that you have really.
Yeah.
And how do you talk to her? How do you treat her? How do you view her? How do you present her to the world?
Hmm.
All matters. So that separation is that divine body partnership really is
I
the
think
third one. Yeah.
yeah, I like that concept. Like we say our relationship with our body, but really thinking about it as like you as your spirit and your body as two separate things having this relationship, actual relationship together.
Yes,
And
exactly.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, and really seeing like, oh my gosh, what would this relationship look like with two other people,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And is this the relationship that I want to foster and continue? And really the healing is looking at this as two entities communicating to each other essentially, right? And
Yeah,
what
like
what and how are they communicating with each other?
yeah, if this interaction was replayed between like a parent and a child or between friends, what would that look like? And how would I
Mhm.
view that? And if it
Yeah,
sounds or if it thinks it's toxic or, not
yeah,
really positive or
healthy.
healthy,
Yeah.
then it's not healthy for us and our body either. Like to really see it as a partnership like you would any other partnership. You're going to communicate with each other, you're going to listen to each other, you're going to be checking in. Like, I'm in a marriage that I think is the marriage I always wanted. It's amazing.
That's
And what
awesome.
do? We check in throughout the day. How are you doing? How did your
Yeah.
morning go? How was that? Okay. Like we check in with each other. So checking in. We have shared experiences,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we see it like, wow, that if that was hard for me, how was that for you, body? We're inhabiting the same space, but we're not one and the same.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to make that distinction. Yeah.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. These are awesome tips. They, like making my brain think outside the box because you oftentimes you're like heal your relationship with your body, just think differently about your body, right? Like have these, but it's really kind of a different angle to take on it, and I really love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that came to me. I mean, we've been taught that. It was such a funny thing because I've been taught that my whole life,
Hmm.
right? Your soul is made up of your spirit and your body, and your body's not you. But to apply it in the very thing that I was struggling in, which was my relationship with my body, and to really believe that and apply those concepts, it really is a divine work because your
Hmm.
body is a divine gift.
Yeah.
And without her, we wouldn't be able to progress in this life. And here's the thing, the next step, what I notice is that when women make this realization, some of them then think, oh, I've been so bad to her. And then they give themselves just this
Mm.
guilt trip of, oh,
Yeah.
I have to repair this relationship and I can't believe I've been so bad. So then they self reject. And it's like, hold on here.
Yeah.
I think God, who gave us our bodies, knew that there would be some hiccups in the road
Yeah.
and being able to accept this body. And if we believe that one of the main purposes of this life is not only to gain a body, but also to expand and grow and gain experience, then not all those experiences with our body are going to come off as positive. But He turns all things for our good.
Yeah.
And so the struggle can become the thing that actually is turned for your good, for your
Mm.
benefit.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for so many years of trying to like lose weight, I would never have been motivated to come to this place of really appreciating my body for the reality of what she is. I
Yeah.
never would have been motivated to do that. And how
Yeah.
sweet that has been.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Using that opposition as the opportunity
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
gain that stronger relationship. And
Yeah.
I think too, like there's a piece in here with this, we need the savior to do that too. We need the savior to help provide us that those through his atonement, that healing as well, and help
Yeah.
us to feel that way towards our body or provide us with those thoughts or words or compassion too, because he's the ultimate person that knows how to do that and knows how you feel in that moment
Yep.
too and can
Exactly.
provide
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
This is
Yep.
awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Kerrie. This has
Yeah.
been
Thank
so
you.
cool. I love this. So if people want to learn more from you, they want to maybe take some classes from you, like where can
Yeah.
they find you?
Yeah, so if you just go to my website, kerrienygard.com, so that's KerrieNygard.com. At the very top of my website, there's a place where you can sign up. I do free online workshops.
Oh,
I have
awesome.
one I'm going on next month, and so you can sign up. It's just free online, and there's replays that I'll email out to you, and then you can
Cool.
participate in that. Yeah,
Oh, awesome. Very cool. I'll put that in the show notes so people can click on
perfect.
that super easy.
Great.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Do you do anything on social media that
Yeah, so you can
people
follow
can
me as well. I also have a YouTube channel. All of that. If you go to my website, it'll
has
take
all
you to
those links? Okay,
anything else.
perfect.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. We'll link all those in the show notes. Everybody can find
Right.
that. But thank you for taking the time to share all that information. This is such a different way to look at it. So I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. I hope you were able to find ways of healing, guidance, and peace. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend who would love to start thinking in a higher and holier way as well. Or hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any episodes. Also, check out the links in my show notes for other episodes you might like and links for other mental health resources on my website.